You've been lied to about productivity, not by some conspiracy, but by a culture that's confused motion with progress. Here's the truth. Rest isn't the opposite of productive. It's the foundation. Right now, 82% of employees are at risk of burnout. That's not a typo, 82%. And it's costing businesses $322 billion annually in lost productivity. But here's what they don't tell you. The people burning out aren't lazy. They're high achievers. They're people who've internalized the belief that if they're not grinding, they're falling behind. You know the feeling. That guilt when you take a break. That voice in your head saying, everyone else is working harder. The anxiety that stillness equals stagnation. And here's the brutal irony. All that grinding might be making you less productive. Let me show you why. Your brain has something called the default mode network, or DMN for short. It's a network of brain regions that activate specifically when you're not focused on external tasks. In other words, it turns on when you rest. And this is where it gets fascinating. The DMN is critical for creativity, memory consolidation, problem solving, and future planning. All the things that actually drive meaningful work. When you're constantly grinding, jumping from task to task, meeting to meeting, notification to notification, you're never giving your DMN the space to activate. You're stuck in what neuroscientists call task-positive mode. And while that mode is great for execution, it's terrible for innovation. Studies show that people who take strategic breaks, who build conscious rest into their workflow, don't just feel better. They perform better. Long-term efficiency goes up. Creativity spikes. Decision-making improves. So why does rest feel so wrong? Because we've been trained to confuse busyness with value. We've been sold the hustle culture narrative. Sleep when you're dead, grind 24/7. Success requires sacrifice. But here's the data. Gen Z and millennials are hitting peak burnout at age 25. That's 17 years earlier than the average American. Remote workers, despite flexibility, face 20% higher burnout risk. This isn't sustainable. And the economic proof is staring us in the face. 125 to 190 billion in healthcare costs related to workplace burnout. Every single year. The anti-hustle movement isn't about working less. It's about working smarter. It's about recognizing that sustainable growth beats rapid scaling. That team well-being matters. That personal fulfillment is a success metric. And the neuroscience backs this up. Rest is productive. Let me say that again. Rest is productive. So how do we put this into practice? Let me give you what I call the productive rest protocol. Step 1, breath awareness. Close your eyes for 60 seconds. Focus only on your inhale and exhale. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and digest mode. Step 2, body scan meditation. Starting from your toes, mentally scan up through your body. Notice tension. Release it. This practice trains your brain to recognize when it's operating in chronic stress mode. Step 3, legs up the wall. Literally. Lie on the floor. Put your legs up against a wall for 10 minutes. It improves circulation, reduces cortisol, and gives your DMN space to activate. But here's the most important part. You need to reframe rest, not as a reward for productivity, but as a tool for it. Because when you rest strategically, you're not slowing down. You're loading the next level. You're letting your brain do what it does best. Make connections, solve problems, generate insights. The people who understand this, they're the ones building sustainable, long-term success. Not the flashy, burn bright, then crash stories. The steady, compounding, resilient performers. Think about it this way. Every great athlete knows that recovery is part of training. You don't build muscle in the gym. You build it during rest when your body repairs and strengthens. Your brain works the same way. You don't have your breakthrough insights during the grind. You have them in the shower, on a walk, right before you fall asleep. That's your default mode network at work. So here's your new permission slip. Rest is not laziness. Rest is not wasted time. Rest is not something you earn after you've done enough. Rest is strategic. Rest is necessary. Rest is productive. The next time you feel guilty about taking a break, remember this. You're not avoiding work. You're preparing your brain to do its best work. The world will keep telling you to grind harder, to do more, to sacrifice rest for success. But the science and the $322 billion price tag tells a different story. High achievers don't burn out because they're weak. They burn out because they've been taught to ignore the one thing that makes high achievement sustainable: rest. So stop grinding for a moment. Take a breath. Let your default mode network do its thing, because the most productive thing you can do right now might be nothing at all.